brother over the command radio net. Jacques could picture his younger brother sitting in the command vehicle, peering through the periscope, wondering what would happen next. The Americans would surely overwhelm them, but they had always seemed to find a way to survive. "I'm getting reports our infantry is surrendering, Jacques." Jacques Ballantyne stared into the dark horizon, the sounds of war buzzing around him like a burst beehive. He could not surrender. Ever. Grabbing his AK-47, he radioed his brother, saying, "Meet me in the wadi to our front." Then he jumped from the turret of his tank to the desert sand. He ran toward cover, watching as 12 of his T-72 Soviet-produced tanks raced from their hidden positions and began to suppress the American M1s and M2 Bradley fighting vehicles. The long bores of the T-72s awkwardly hung over the chassis of the tanks, spitting flame and causing the entire tank to heave upward at every shot. The counterattack accounted for stopping 4 enemy vehicles before Jacques noticed a larger formation moving to their flank. The air filled with the incessant chatter of coaxial machine guns and the loud report of tank main gun rounds breaking the sound barrier as they sought out their targets. Crouching in the wadi, Jacques turned and began firing at an American infantry column that had flanked his position. He saw the American soldiers rushing for a few seconds and then hitting the ground, never allowing him to get a decent shot. Jacques looked over his shoulder as a sabot round crashed into the hull of his tank just a few meters behind him, causing the turret to pop off and spin like a top on the sand. The fireball reached out and licked his face, a demon from hell saying, "Come with me." Not yet, he thought. Jacques shouted to the men of his unit, now beginning to run from their tanks as they watched the others explode in bright orange fireballs all around them. Jacques turned to look for Henri and shouted, "With me, men! Fight with me!" Suddenly someone was on top of him, wrestling him to the ground. "Cease fire!" an officer shouted, holding a 9mm Beretta to Jacques' head. Out of the corner of his eye, Jacques saw Henri rushing over the hill. It took the man less than a second to fire 2 rounds into Henri's face, killing him. Jacques watched his younger brother's face explode, as if someone had placed a stick of dynamite into his mouth. Pumped with adrenaline, Jacques moaned, "No!" He twisted free from his assailant's grip and attempted to escape, but the man butt-stroked him with the pistol, making everything seem like it was moving in slow motion. And before he knew it, the soldier had flex-cuffed him, and he was being carted away in the back of an American command post vehicle. As Jacques bounced in the back of the dusty personnel carrier, he felt a knife cut away his backpack. Turning to look, he watched the American paw his way through the contents and then zip the bag closed before placing it near the radio mounts on the other side of the cabin. Jacques watched him pick up the radio handset and give crisp, clear orders to his men. Then he heard the call to higher headquarters. "We've captured the Tawakana commander, General Jacques Ballantyne," he said. "How do they know who I am?" Ballantyne strained to see the young officer's name tag. He was wearing a sand-colored battle dress uniform. The officer hooked the handset onto a piece of cord hanging from the top of the inside of the crew compartment and turned toward his prisoner. Ballantyne sat dazed as a medic applied ointment to the cut on his head. The medic's skilled hands worked diligently on the laceration the pistol had left on his forehead, applying bandages the best he could in the rumbling track. "Speak English?" the lieutenant asked. Ballantyne nodded. "We're taking you to headquarters." Ballantyne saw the lieutenant's jaw tighten and flex. His green eyes radiated from a face coated with sand and dust as he leaned over to offer water. That's when Ballantyne saw the name. Garrett. Lieutenant Garrett. As Garrett's face grew closer, Ballantyne saw a scar that hadn't healed properly, cutting across the man's chin. It almost looked like a cleft, but ran horizontal to the ground. He stared at it. "Brothers shot me. Accident. Here, drink some water." Garrett reached out to his prisoner with a canteen cup. "We need you healthy." Ballantyne gave him a hard stare through his narrow, dusty eyes. "You killed my brother." Garrett held his gaze for a few seconds, but it seemed like an hour. They bounced in the loud track. Metal clanked everywhere. The radio hummed a loud, static buzz, pierced by rapid spot reports from scouts. Despite the noise, both men sensed silence. Lieutenant Zachary Garrett was thinking about the time his brother, Matt, and he had been hunting. Their dog Ranger was about 50 feet in front, pointing with one leg at an old cornfield.